Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on Episode 6 of The Familiar of Zero, Night of the Twin Moons. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So last we left off, Saito got himself in a bunch of trouble with Louise regarding her sisters, and at the same time, we've sort of become aware that even the Musketeer force is not free of traitors, and that, worse than that, some of the powers that be, the upper aristocracy, are also plotting against Queen Henrietta. Fortunately, however, Agnes is on the case, and, she seems to be uncharacteristically competent, to the point where she's rooted out a couple traitors, and now she's reporting to the Queen herself. So the question is, what's gonna go down from here on out? Because with stuff like this, you really just kind of have to be brutal. There's no two ways about it, but I don't know if Queen Henrietta has the wherewithal to do what is necessary, I mean, she's alluding to a plan that would even put herself in danger, but there's no guarantee that this plan is, for want of a better term, as brutal as is strictly necessary. Not to keep bringing it up, but Machiavelli writes about this, and, sometimes you just have to do harsh, borderline evil things in order to maintain power. And, it's not that it's neither good nor bad, but, the pursuit of power is sort of amoral by its nature, so you kind of have to, put things aside if that's what you really want to do. Unfortunately, I don't think the Queen has read Machiavelli. Now, normally during the opening theme, I would sit quietly with reverence, but today I am obligated to my sponsor. Today's sponsor is none other than myself. You may not know this, but I write light novels, and I've written quite a few. Today, I'm going to tell you about the eccentric detective Yamamoto, in which the intrepid, if drunken, detective solves a wide variety of cases with the help of her assistant Satoshi. Ranging from finding missing pets and surveilling cheating spouses to catching a high-end cat burglar and preventing the murder of a local business magnate, no case is too big or too small for Detective Yamamoto. Even when she's forced to work with, and occasionally against, the police, and even when she must contend with her fear of the supernatural, nothing will prevent the eccentric detective from doing what needs to be done to solve the case. If this sounds like something you'd like to read, then by all means, consider purchasing books in the Eccentric Detective Yamamoto series by me, Frederick Fitzgerald, through Amazon. Thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the episode. So I feel it's also worth bringing up that Agnes is very, very focused on that guy who burned down her village. And understandably so, but it's putting me in mind of Roy Mustang from Full Metal Alchemist. He did a lot of burning, and a lot of it was at the behest of the military for a wider goal. It turned out that goal was wrong, but the fault doesn't lie squarely with him. So I'm wondering if that might be similar. And furthermore, Agnes is intent on revenge here, and that was what the traitor in the Musketeer force was motivated by as well, so I don't know, maybe this is something that could flip Agnes to the side of the anti-monarchist forces if it were to come to light that Henrietta was in some way involved with the burning of a village. Now, for better or for worse, Louise and Saito have decided to revisit that one tavern, I guess you would call it. So, I guess the salient point here is that they're here to meet someone. They don't know exactly who it is, so it's a probably good indication that it is the Queen herself. She's probably trying to be somewhat discreet. I can't remember if this was a place that was recommended by Henrietta herself or what. Because if it wasn't, I don't know why on earth she would decide to come here. Oh dear. So despite being here on actual business, Louise and Saito have been press ganged into helping out at the actual establishment itself, which, lest we forget, it didn't exactly go great last time. Louise not getting along with customers, to put it mildly, and Saito not being a remarkably good dishwasher. So, I guess bygones are bygones, the owner doesn't seem to remember or care too much. He needs more people to work, I guess. So I guess the question is, how will this interfere with their duties, and will Louise have learned her lesson? I mean, it's safe to say she is going to cause trouble, but it's more towards the end of beating Saito viciously. Because, he's not making it explicitly clear initially what he's ranking all the waitresses by, but, it's never a good thing to say, like, oh yeah, Louise is in dead last place right in front of her. Because, she is just sort of touchy about that sort of thing dispositionally. Now, I guess if things weren't bad enough, Giulio has decided to show up as a patron, and, oh dear. So here we go. Saito's gonna have to put this Italian in his place post-haste, otherwise things are gonna get real uncomfortable. Although I guess things are already uncomfortable by virtue of, Giulio being here on work business, and that Agnes is liable to come here too. I mean, I get why they do all have to work together, in the interest of crown and country and all that, but at the same time, they don't make for a remarkably, cohesive unit, shall we say. And I guess what makes everything sort of worse is that Giulio showed up in time for Saito and Louise to have to work, and, while he gets to sort of take advantage of being a customer, as it were. Alright, so Saito, as is his wont, has, probably bumped into trouble. Wow. So I guess he was here to meet Henrietta, but well, maybe. I don't know. He's being awfully secretive about it, as is she. She seems to be sneaking away from her royal guard here, which is kind of questionable at the best of times, I mean, I guess I can't help but wonder what's going on here. Like, are the guards not trustworthy? Perhaps they aren't. She would know that, but just sort of like talk to Saito and say like, look, I need you to be my bodyguard for a little while, and sort of not immediately, I guess, ask to speak with Louise. It isn't the queen's personality to demand to speak with Louise when Saito's there, She's not that sort of person, even if it is warranted, but I feel like Saito should probably say something like, let me get Louise, she ought to know about this, and, maybe tell the proprietor to stuff it for a moment, and, wait while more important things are going on. Now, unfortunately, I reckon things are gonna get dicey real quick, because naturally the princess is changing. She can't wear her royal garb. It's very conspicuous, but to change in the same room as Saito, like, that's something. That's, impropriety springs to mind. But beyond that, to wear Louise's clothing, which is, insufficient in size, shall we put it, like, something tells me things are gonna get bad real quick. Like, Saito might not be clapped in irons and thrown in a dungeon again, but boy howdy, I reckon Louise is gonna get mad at him. And, even if he doesn't do anything, even if this is like that whole business with Siesta again, where Siesta provokes something, like, yeah, it's not gonna be good. I mean, Louise is already noticing his absence, so, I get the feeling that even if they might otherwise be undiscovered, Louise's outburst might cause an issue. Now, I do find it interesting that Henrietta has decided to wear that white shirt out in the rain without, a cloak or anything. Oh, dear. It's bad enough that she's sort of like, pretending to be a couple with Saito. Like, I get it, a little public display of affection will get the guards to sort of maybe not look as closely as they otherwise would, but, Whoa, buddy. It's a real good thing Louise isn't around here. She would be livid in ways seldom seen before. So I guess meanwhile, Agnes seems to be going after that Lishman fellow who was the confederate of the traitorous musketeer. And I guess the question is she gonna put this guy to the sword now, you know? Well, perhaps he's not at home. Or, well, never mind. I guess, perhaps she has her suspicions of the guy. Oh. You know, this probably pertains to that plan Queen Henrietta mentioned to Agnes earlier, staging a kidnapping to sort of ferret out traitors. It would make sense, but I was wondering if perhaps Agnes suspects this guy of being, in some way involved with burning down her village. I wouldn't put it past her to think such a thing, but, wow, that was an oddly ostentatious and borderline aggressive way to sign a document. To sort of summon a pen like that flies very near to someone's face. I mean, we already have it on fairly good authority that this guy is a traitor, but I feel in his position I would maybe be, playing my cards a bit closer to the chest, Okay, so Agnes is bringing up, the massacre. So I guess, yeah, this guy is involved. I do find it interesting that there is a group in question called the Protestants, which, I feel like that's a wee bit on the nose. I guess given that there is also a pope we know of. Now, I guess Agnes is sort of playing it cool here, saying look, I'm not making it to be the villain, but who is the captain on that mission? Who is in command here? And, oh dear. For that guy to fob her off like that, I reckon she's gonna take it pretty personally, even if this guy wasn't actually involved. I mean, I guess good on her for not immediately putting the guy to the sword as, other people might be inclined to if this guy truly was involved with the destruction of her village. Not that she was coming right out and saying that I survived that massacre, but, oh dear. So back in the rain, things are getting interesting. Louise is in pursuit. She doesn't know exactly where they are or where to look, but, boy howdy, now that they've, gotten a room to themselves, after soaking in the rain, I reckon, when Louise does burst in, for it is probably an inevitability, they're probably going to be borderline indisposed here, I mean, I guess it doesn't help that Henrietta is shivering in her wet clothes and saying, hey, could you put your arms around my shoulders? And it's okay, alright, what's going on here? I feel like maybe Saito should reckon that philandering with the queen is, verboten if nothing else, Ooh, okay. Alright, so that harsh knocking on the door, I reckon that would have been Louise, but, no such luck. It's merely people from the castle searching for the queen. And I guess, unfortunately, she's decided, another public display of affection's the way to go here. And, you know what? She is right. I reckon, if I were law enforcement looking for someone, I wouldn't want to stick around longer than I had to in an uncomfortable situation like this. But on the other hand, she did just whip her knockers out and kiss Saito, which, putting it mildly, that'll have negative externalities. Perhaps it is a good thing that Louise didn't witness that, but seeing as how we're sort of kicking the can down the road, I feel like she's going to witness something even worse. I shudder to think what that could possibly be, but, you really do never know. Okay, well, I think I've ascertained what worse might be. Worse is not merely Louise bursting in, but Louise and Agnes together, seeing as how Agnes is now dragging her along. So, yeah, things are gonna get real bad, I reckon. I guess Agnes, she's moving in defense of the queen here. That guy seems like a shady character, and he's probably going after the room he assumes to have Saito and Louise. Or Saito and Henrietta, rather. But, okay, so this guy, he knows the queen's been kidnapped, but, he doesn't seem to be involved in the search, as it were. Oh boy. So I guess, everyone knows this classic maneuver of engaging in a public display of affection. I guess it's deeply unfortunate that Agnes and Louise had to do it to deflect suspicion. Oh dear. Yeah, you know, that's how you rationalize it, I guess. Like, hey, it was for the mission. And I guess from Agnes's perspective, it's not like she derived any pleasure from it either, you know. I guess that's the one good thing that can be said. You know, they both sort of suffered through that. So, to Henrietta's benefit, I suppose, she's decided not to push the public displays of affection any further, you know. Well, I say that, but she is talking now, you know, mentioning wanting Saito to defend her and all that, and it's like, I don't know, man, you're treading on dangerous ground here. Like, even if it's less dangerous for the queen, it's certainly dangerous for Saito. Alright, so... Ooh. For Agnes to divulge the plan here that Saito is the really important one in this whole arrangement as a bodyguard, like... That's unfortunate for Louise. Because, you know... If you're deemed to be of lesser importance than your familiar, like, that's rough. Especially when Louise is already deemed fairly unimportant by most everyone at all times. I feel like the least Agnes could have done was at least bring her along on the horse, you know, rather than sort of leave her behind. I mean, Louise has sort of found her own way with that, proprietor, but... Ooh. Okay, never mind. Saito said, I was with the queen until a little while ago, but I guess, you know, he passed her off to Agnes, so it's all good. Man, that'd be real bad if Saito lost the queen as well, like, man. So I guess the question is, how are things gonna hit the fan now? Like, obviously this Lishman character's up to no good. He has Confederates, and they're clearly planning something at this theater, or else, you know, why would everyone be radiating on this area? I mean, realistically, it's probably a sting on Agnes's part, you know? Like, if these guys are plotting something, I guess an insalubrious setting like the theater would be the place to discuss it, but, it would seem as though they didn't plan on being listened to. So I guess the question is, what now? You know, Henrietta's essentially interrupting a theater production. I reckon they probably don't appreciate it too much, even if there isn't much they can do about it. Oh, wow. Alright, well good, Henrietta planned ahead. She has all her musketeers there. I guess the thing to be worried about is, how many of them are traitors, you know, seeing as how they're not immune. But at the same time, ooh. You know, it seems as though Lishman here is, someone who has a better understanding of Machiavelli than Henrietta, because he was prepared. I mean, obviously, I think it'll ultimately prove that he is the less prepared of the two groups, but at the same time, you know, things are pretty bad when a swordsman has the opportunity to strike at the queen. I mean, sure, Saito ultimately protected her, but, you know, it's never a good thing when you leave stuff to chance. I guess case in point here, Lishman was far more prepared than anyone really gave him credit for to have essentially a big escape route already planned by virtue of being the sort of lord of this area. I mean, I guess Agnes is one step further ahead than that, but I don't know. it doesn't fill me full of confidence that things were able to sort of escalate this far. So at this point, Agnes is sort of revealing everything. She survived the massacre of the village, and now it's time for revenge. And this guy here, he says he can kill her in an instant, and that might well be true with magic, but Agnes has already sort of demonstrated that she's capable of fighting back. I mean, I guess not. He did catch her off guard, but I guess the question is whether he truly immolated her to death. It seems like probably not. And I guess the real question is, what nifty little countermeasure did she have to that? Because I feel like, fire magic is remarkably destructive. And I feel like it's not something you can easily ward off, so how'd she do it? I mean, looking at her, she doesn't even appear to be singed, so clearly something's going on here. She planned far more than, probably anyone else, really. Now, despite killing the nobleman broadly in charge of the destruction of her village, I reckon this probably isn't going to be the end here. Because, there were however many people involved with the actual burning itself. However, in terms of tragedy, that's on a solid second place here. Unfortunately, Louise recognizes the Queen's perfume on Saito, so, it's basically over. She's going to whip him. And, actually, things might have worked out here. They both have something they don't want to admit to. And oddly enough, Louise is a bit more flustered than Saito. I guess, unfortunately, the natural outlet of her being flustered is to start using magic to explosive effect. Very unfortunate for Saito. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.